In the previous chapter, we saw the Kong twins unleashing their devastating mountain and forest shadow technique, effortlessly overpowering 6 ethereal stage experts and leaving the audience in awe. However, Zhuofan's unmatched power and composure hinted that this battle was far from settled. Let's begin the chapter. Even as 2 figures rushed toward him, their eyes brimming with murder, Zhuofan stood his ground, a faint smile gracing his face. The air between them buzzed with tension, the kind that sends shivers down your spine. For the onlookers, this was the moment they had been waiting for. Wen Tao and Han Yunfeng, standing to the side, seemed just as eager, their gazes fixed on Zhuofan. How would he handle the formidable twins? Songshan and Konglin, who prided themselves on their blend of power and flexibility. The twins moved swiftly, their forms darting like phantoms as they closed in. Their hands wove intricate signs mid-air, their voices booming. "Mountain and forest shadow, the crushing mountain!" A yellow light erupted, barreling toward Zhuofan, with a force that could shatter even the body of an ethereal stage expert. The ground beneath them trembled as the attack surged forward. "Mountain and forest shadow, the spreading forest!" A green ripple followed, emanating a strange hum as it spread outward. Kung Lin's eyes gleamed with determination, his gestures quick and precise. Wen Tao watched closely, his brow furrowing slightly. The twins seemed extra cautious with Zhuo. "Fan! They're not using the same attack they used on the 6 experts earlier." Han Yunfeng nodded thoughtfully. Back then, Kong Shan used raw power to disrupt their momentum, while Kong Lin manipulated time, storing the attacks and reflecting them. The 6 lost because their own energy was turned against them. This time, though, the twins have shifted tactics. Kong Shan is attacking head-on, more forceful and destructive, while Kong Lin has adapted to disperse energy instead of containing it. It's a seamless combination, power and defense perfectly balanced. Wen Tao smirked, his tone mocking. "And why do you think they're playing it safe this time?" Han Yunfeng's gaze sharpened. Fear. Zhuofan's power must be too overwhelming for Kong Lin to risk storing it. If he tried, he'd probably be crushed under its sheer weight. This new strategy shows they're wary of him. Wen Tao chuckled. Exactly. No matter how clever their techniques are, they crumble in the face of absolute power. It all comes down to Zhuofan's next move. Will his strength overpower their combined efforts? You've seen his punch before. What's your take on it? Han Yunfeng smirked slightly. You'll see soon enough. The attention snapped back to the battlefield. Kong Shan and Kong Lin were closing in, their devastating yellow and green lights seconds away from hitting Zhuofan. Yet, he hadn't moved. He just stood there, unfazed. The audience collectively held their breath, hearts pounding in anticipation. Is this the end of the so-called dark horse? The twins sneered, their confidence swelling as they closed in. So the rumors were just that. Rumors. This guy is nothing. He's frozen in fear or just plain incompetent. But just as those thoughts crossed their minds, a soft buzzing sound cut through the air. Their instincts flared and a chill ran down their spines. The ground around Zhuofan began to crumble. 100-meter radius disintegrated into fine dust as high-frequency vibrations filled the space. Kong Shan's yellow light, which had seemed unstoppable, shattered into nothingness the moment it entered the range. Kong Lin's green ripples fared no better. Black lines spread across the light like a spiderweb before it, too, collapsed. The twins recoiled, their faces twisted in shock and disbelief as they retreated. But even as they tried to flee, the vibrations reached them. Their attacks had crumbled, and they were too late to escape unscathed. "Ah!" Their screams echoed as their hands began disintegrating. Blood spurted from the stumps where their hands had been, and the crowd gasped in horror. Wen Tao and Han Yunfeng stood frozen, their wide eyes betraying their disbelief. Even the usually composed, exalted double dragons twitched at the display of raw power. Zhuofan finally spoke, his voice calm yet carrying an edge of arrogance. "Divine Eye of the Void, 4th stage, absolute domain, space crusher." The twins exchanged glances, their fear palpable. Zhuofan had kept his true abilities hidden, revealing only the bare minimum when necessary. Now he had unleashed something so terrifying that even their combined might seemed insignificant. But Zhuofan wasn't finished. He closed one eye, his grin widening as he leapt forward. Kong Lin's instincts screamed at him to run, but his body refused to move. Zhuofan's left hand transformed into a dragon claw, glowing ominously as it reached for him. His right eye flashed twice, unleashing void annihilation toward Kong Shan. Kong Lin panicked, his voice trembling as he desperately tried to defend himself. Mountain and forest shadow, the spreading forest. The green ripples surged outward once more, but Zhuofan's dragon claw tore through it effortlessly. A burst of purple lightning coursed through the claw, amplifying its destructive power. Crash! Kong Lin's barrier shattered and the claw reached him. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere as Kong Lin's body was torn apart, reduced to nothing more than a grotesque shower of gore. The audience gasped in horror, their shock mirrored on every face in the arena. Zhuofan wasted no time. With one twin down, he turned his attention to Kong Shan, who was trembling uncontrollably. "Run! I have to run!" But it was too late. Zhuofan closed the distance in an instant. Kong Shan, knowing escape was impossible, gathered all his strength for one last attack. Mountain and forest shadow, the crushing mountain! A massive wave of yellow energy surged forward, carrying the weight of 1,000 mountains. But Zhuofan only laughed, his right hand glowing with immense power. He punched forward, meeting the yellow wave head-on. Boom! The collision was deafening, but the result was clear. The yellow energy shattered like fragile glass, reduced to harmless motes of light. Kong Shan's body didn't fare any better. The shockwave from Zhuofan's strike ripped him apart, leaving behind a gruesome red mist. The crowd was silent, too stunned to react. Zhuofan stood amidst the carnage unscathed, his aura radiating dominance. He glanced at the remaining spectators, his condescending smile never wavering. Who is this man? How can anyone wield such terrifying power? Even the most seasoned experts in the audience couldn't fathom what they had just witnessed. The legend of Zhuofan had just grown even darker and more fearsome. The once excited audience gawked. So many were witnessing Zhuofan's brutal power for the first time, struggling to comprehend the sheer monstrousness of his existence. His power was simply otherworldly. Everyone remembered the twins' strength. They were easily a match for the disciples of the superior three sects, the very ones who caused so much trouble for the middle three sects' disciples. Yet these brilliant, courageous geniuses were annihilated by Zhuofan with almost casual ease, and in the most horrific manner imaginable. The entire display left everyone trembling. Even those who had witnessed Zhuofan's previous, seemingly random punch were disturbed. That earlier strike felt unintentional, whereas these attacks were imbued with chilling purpose and resolve. The relentless display of baffling martial arts thrilled and terrified in equal measure. "Every time I see him," Shi Tianshang sighed, shaking his head in disbelief. "He's like a new man, a new abomination. It makes my years of dedicated cultivation feel utterly pointless. I couldn't beat him, not even in my wildest dreams." Wen Tao's face twitched nervously. "Tianshang, what in the heavens has your friend been consuming?" "He's not human!" And Han Yunfeng, he exclaimed, turning accusingly. "You said he'd take 15 minutes against the twins." "It was barely a second." "How am I supposed to know?" Han Yunfeng retorted, rolling his eyes. "I told you he was terrifying. I'd bet that last punch wasn't even his full strength. I can't even fathom the limits of his power. How could they allow such a freak into the Double Dragon gathering? How are we supposed to compete with that?" Wen Tao eyed him, nodding in grim agreement. Then his expression soured. "Blast it all! I was so confident in my strategies against the demon scheming sect, but what good are they? Against a monster like that?" "Humph, ignorance is bliss," Han Yunfeng mocked. "Your confidence was nothing more than foolish delusion." Wen Tao glared, then sighed in defeat. Others were even more distraught. The heaven trailing. Sect's elder had assumed victory in their upcoming match against the demon scheming sect. Now, victory seemed an impossible dream. His team was walking into a massacre. The valley had become a living hell with one inescapable, terrifying presence looming over everything, Zhuofan. And to make matters infinitely worse, their leader, Ren Kong, remained utterly clueless. He had explicitly instructed the twins to target Zhuofan immediately upon arrival, rather than wasting time on the remnants of the demon scheming sect. But the battle was already concluded. Young Master Ren and his fellow disciples hadn't received any communication, a clear indication of the fight's terrifying brevity. Elder Qi was consumed with worry. He feared the young master was still clinging to the absurd. notion that Zhuo Fan was merely showing off. That's suicidal, he thought, his heart sinking into despair. The rumors were true, even if they underestimated his true power. That fiend is a force of pure terror. Wu Qingqiu inhaled deeply, sighing heavily. His reputation is well earned. Zhuo Fan is truly exceptional. Even among the superior 3 sects, few could handle the twins like that. And he made it look effortless. You haven't seen anything yet, Yanmo said grimly, recalling his own harrowing encounter. Wait until he unleashes his full potential. That's when you'll truly understand his power. We haven't even glimpsed his soul yet. Wu Qingqiu's eyes widened. Soul? He's at the radiant stage and has already formed his soul? Of course. How else could he possibly fight an ethereal stage expert without a formed soul? I assumed he possessed some powerful defensive soul treasure. That, combined with his incredible physical strength, explained his victories. Or so I thought until now. But if he's already formed his soul? Wu Qingqiu's face darkened with apprehension. Yanmo sighed, glancing at him. Let me enlighten you. He doesn't just have a formed soul, it's something extraordinary. How can you be sure? Did you see it? Wu Qingqiu pressed, his gaze intense. Yanmo nodded, then shook his head. I saw a glimpse, just a fraction. He only partially released it. And that was enough to nearly kill me. Had the girl in his arms not intervened, I wouldn't be standing here. You fought him. And lost? Wu Qingqiu gasped. He knew Yanmo's considerable strength. While not his superior, Yanmo was a formidable expert in the Western lands. The most gifted geniuses of the West could perhaps defeat him, but pushing him to the brink of death was almost unthinkable. And this same expert had been nearly extinguished by Zhuo Fan. Just what level of power are we dealing with? Wu Qingqiu wondered, a shiver running down his spine. He turned to Ye Lin, his voice laced with concern. Junior brother, your opponent is monstrously strong. Of course he is, Ye Lin grinned, excitement burning in his eyes. How else could he possibly be a match for me? He chuckled, a manic edge to his voice. I told you none of you are worthy to face him but me. We are destined rivals! He he he! Wu Qingqiu stared at him for a long moment, then simply nodded, speechless. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan, having swatted aside his insignificant opponents, began scanning the area with a predatory grin. His eye twitched and he darted forward. He clawed at a bush, snatching a mote of green light, Kong Lin's soul. Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed gold and the mote vanished. He disappeared again, reappearing high on a tree branch. Another swipe of his hand captured a yellow mote, Kong Shan's soul. With one final blink-and-you'll-miss-it movement, he returned to his original position, his grin twisting into something truly malicious as he addressed the captured souls. Run along now. Did you think you could escape me after I pulverized your bodies? And you, Kong Shan, he sneered. What were you doing perched under a bird's backside? Hoping to be reborn as a chick in your next life? The demon scheming sect disciples erupted in laughter. The 2 captured souls trembled in terror. You messed with the wrong guy. Kui Lang chuckled, patting the quivering souls mockingly. You challenged Steward Zhuo, and now you're paying the price. Ha ha ha! The others roared with laughter. The Kong twins were mortified, crying out in impotent rage. You destroyed our bodies. And now you dare to kill us? We are from the heaven-trailing sect, the leaders of Tianyu's 3 guardian sects. Leaders, my foot! Zhuo Fan scoffed. We'll be the leaders soon enough. Ha ha ha! He slammed the 2 souls together, causing them to recoil as if struck. The laughter intensified. Suddenly, Ren Kong and his group arrived, bathed in flashes of light. Seeing the demon scheming sect in such high spirits, Ren Kong was bewildered. Where are Kong Shan and Kong Lin? Were they transported to a different area? He wondered. His plan had hinged on immediately ambushing Zhuo Fan upon arrival. Now the twins were nowhere to be seen and the opportunity was lost. The thought of them being defeated simply didn't register. He couldn't fathom such a preposterous outcome. The twins had proven formidable against all the middle 3 sects. How could they have been vanquished so swiftly? The brutal truth was he was completely out of his depth. He had made the fatal mistake of provoking the wrong person. Are you wondering if they should have attacked me the moment they got here? Zhuo Fan's mocking voice cut through the air. Ren Kong's brow shot up. He stared at Zhuo Fan in disbelief. How does he know that? Zhuo Fan grinned as if reading his thoughts. He shook his head, opening his palms to reveal the two flickering motes. Because they did. Pity they lost. Ha ha ha! He clenched his fists, and under Ren Kong's horrified gaze, the two souls shrieked their last, then dissipated into nothingness. From now on, Zhuo Fan declared, his eyes narrowed. The leadership of Tianyu's three guardian sects has changed. Qi Changlong and the other disciples sneered, strutting towards Ren Kong's group, taunting and jeering. From that moment forward, Tianyu's first guardian sect was no longer in contention.